the medicine I have to offer can only go as far as the medicine I am offering myself. And that, realizing that and stepping into that feels incredibly profound.
You're listening to the Feed Your Wild podcast, a conscious lifestyle show about all things nourishing for your body, mind, and soul. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join me for candid conversations with changemakers, exploring health and wellness, food as medicine, intuition and spirituality, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and feed all parts of your wild self. Hello there. Welcome back to Feed Your Wild. I'm your host, Vanessa Rodriguez, functional nutritionist, your intuitive nourishment guide today and every episode. How you all doing? It has been a crazy past few weeks, at least for me. That's what it's really been feeling like. And I know it's kind of within the greater context of even bigger craziness over the past several years that a lot of us have traversed. But yeah, things feel like as we are shifting seasons here, I'm in Southern Oregon right now, there are so many shifts that are coming our way that in our season of our life, for me and my family, we're really experiencing kind of a big transition point, like the end of a so-called era for us and moving into a new season and time of our life. And I feel that for those who have been listening and know that I had a baby, a son, Santos, almost a year ago. So at the time of this podcast, he's 9 months old. And I feel that that obviously has ushered me into a different season of my own life. But that having this third energy and being with us and adding that to the mix of our collective destiny and journey together as a family has really brought a lot of movement and quickness. And I know that that comes with babies in general for most people, but it is definitely proving to be true in our life. And so one of the shifts that we're experiencing is a move, a physical move. So we're going to be moving from our home, and I'll maybe share more about that later. But for now, I just wanted to convey that things are definitely feeling like we're reaping what we've sown in all the ways and in lots of wonderful ways. This harvest season, this past harvest moon was definitely a deep one, journeying in those Piscean, watery, dreamy realms. I've been experiencing a lot of dreams, very, very active for me over the weekend and this week so far. And how these, living in sort of these liminal times and transitional times feels very dreamlike. Like I am experiencing myself as a witness and looking at the years and the time that I've spent in Oregon and beyond, but how it all feels like a dream and how life really is a dream in many ways. And I can go into my experience of tapping into parallel lives and interdimensional living and all of that. So what is reality? Okay, this is where I'm at. Like this is totally Piscean full moon vibes already, right? And I know that's gone in past, but man, oh man, am I still feeling those waves. So I just wanted to share that if anybody else is also experiencing these liminal realms. We're swimming these waters together. So I'm so grateful for being connected in those ether, watery realms with you. So let's get into this episode today. I am so grateful and thrilled to have my dear friend Megan Liebmann on the podcast today as a guest. You might be familiar with Megan from our many moon musings that we did together. If you're an OG listener of the Feed Your Wild podcast, She was a regular co-host on those moon musing calls and always brings such a deep level of wisdom and candor and just all around amazing human. And I know that a lot of you love Megan, are connected to her work. She also was a lead nutritionist for the Functional Nutrition Alliance for a long time, working with Andrea Nakayama, who was both our mentor in functional nutrition and a dear friend of Megan's. She's worked with some big players in the holistic health and medicine world. She is an incredible herbalist and earth medicine woman, nutritionist, and all around new earth intuitive healer. And so I'm excited for this episode because she shares some incredibly important and potent medicine stories and wisdom today that I know are going to serve so many of you. In this episode, we talk about what Megan deems fast food medicine, what that is, and why slow medicine is the antidote. We talk about what slow medicine actually is and means, how to incorporate it into your life, and why Megan sees herself as an environmental remediator and what that actually means in the context of health and wellness. Megan shares about the importance of clearing the channels and setting up a life that actually invites healing, and how she thinks we've been going about health all wrong. Megan also shares her personal stories and experiences of childhood trauma, her high ACE scores, adverse childhood experience scores, and how those experiences relate to her story of health and challenge and healing in her life. She talks about what got her into functional nutrition, herbalism, and the holistic healing world, and working with top mentors, including Andrea Nakayama and Aviva Ram. Megan also shares how she finally got over imposter syndrome and constantly accumulating knowledge despite the decades of work and experience and studies that she had under her belt. She also talks about her relationship with writing and sharing her voice and her song, and the patterns of self-deprecation and how her past wounding really played a role in how she had viewed herself. We talk about the importance of connecting to the age of the nervous system at which you experienced challenges or trauma and what you might still be carrying, how to be safe, seen, soothed, and secure, and bringing those elements into your practice and your inner child. Megan also shares about her very real experience with health traumas and her surgical menopause, which has affected her in a different way in this season of her life, and her process in supporting herself through that. She also shares how she works with clients and assists them to connect with, to trust, and to absorb their own medicine, body, and wisdom, and really learning to practice the art and science of what it is to be connected, to slow down, and to get to know your medicine. We also talk about the importance of joy and safety with food, and you'll hear about Megan's view on diet restriction and food sensitivities, and why she believes the state in which you eat is equally important to what you're actually putting in your mouth. Megan has so many beautiful mantras that she shares and practices. She also talks about her experience having received an Akashic reading or a few Akashic readings from me and working together in that way, and the lessons that she learned through these readings. I'm so excited to share about Megan's work and her new offerings that she has through the Slow Medicine Collective and her business partner, Christina Tidwell. At the time we recorded the podcast, her program was not open yet, but it is open and available now. And I cannot say enough beautiful things about this offering that she has called Awaken with the Slow Medicine Collective. This is a program that is the culmination of over 10 years of working with clients, listening to their stories, bearing witness to their struggles, and having the honor to guide them through the confusion that comes with trying to heal in a very complex world. Awaken is her 6-week program to awaken your body's innate ability to heal. It is open for registration now, and I can't wait for you to get to know this program and to dive into the beautiful journey that both Megan and Christina have laid out for you in 6 potent weeks of learning modules, live group sessions, and community support. You can find more information on that at slowmedicinecollective.com. And of course, I will have all the links available for you in the show notes so you can connect with Megan and her work and honestly get some deep nourishment that you're not going to get anywhere else. And I'm not just saying that because she's one of my dearest friends, but she's been a colleague that I've journeyed with professionally for many years. And she's one of the most brilliant and gifted healers that I know. So go check that out. And with that introduction, we're going to dive straight into our juicy conversation, all on slow medicine. So here we go with Megan Liebmann. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we got an uber special episode today because, and I'm almost getting emotional over it. Oh my gosh. Because we have our beautiful friend, Megan Liebmann, who has been on the podcast for quite some time. And there has been a bit of a break. I think it started even before COVID. But for anybody who's been listening to an OG listener of the Feed Your World podcast or has gone into some back episodes when we first started, Megan was right with us with all the moon musings. And so I am thrilled to have Megan on as an interviewee, and I get to ask all the juicy questions. But Megan, I'm going to introduce you really quickly. You are an incredible functional nutritionist, an herbal medicine practitioner, a mentor to many different kinds of practitioners, and Mabu, work wife, non-sexual life partner, co-pilot on a lot of projects and ideas, and we've just journeyed for some time together. So I'm thrilled to finally, it's about time that you are here to share all your goods and your story, babe.
Oh, well, I'm honored to be here, and it's a little scary to be kind of in the light. I like to hide a little bit.
Yeah, we always joked about being like the classic introverts, you more so than me, probably. But yeah. Well, you shine your light so brightly, and it's time that we have this conversation. So, yeah. Well, I would love to start off with your story and your story of how you came into this work. But before we do, I'd love for people, I kind of say a little bit about what you do, but I would love to hear from you in your own words. What is the work that you're really channeling right now? Like, what is it that you feel you are doing, and what's like the work with the capital W today?
I would say at this point in time, my work with a capital W is really centered around helping people actually create a life that enables for healing to happen. been in practice and I've been actively seeing clients and patients for going on 11 years at this point. And I've been blessed to work with so many incredible people, and I've been blessed to work with really incredible mentors. I'm just at a point where I'm really feeling this deep need to bring people deeper into their lives and their ecology and what is actually present for them before jumping into food as medicine or taking supplements or even taking herbs. Like I've watched over the many years of being within the field of functional nutrition and being a teacher of functional nutrition. I don't know if it's the most popular opinion, but I really have been bearing witness to a lot of things kind of turning into fast food medicine, I feel. Where there's like, what's the supplement? What's the food? What's the diet? And I'm not saying that those elements don't have value. I really, really do think that they do. We're missing a really, really key step in setting up our life so that healing can occur. And what that looks like is completely different for everybody. And, I'm at a place too where in my practice, like people aren't willing to do that work because then that's okay. Like there's plenty of practitioners that are game and ready to go for the protocol. Like there's so many protocols out there. And after working with a vast majority of those protocols and seeing some success for sure, I'm just at a place where it's feeling deeply out of my integrity to not do this more almost environmental remediation that can be so impactful and is just a real missing component I'm seeing in so many healing practices.
Amen. I feel like what you said, that first line of fast food medicine is so on point. And there's a culture that has been created that it's like everybody wants the healing right now. What's the quickest path to relief of my symptoms or dis-ease? And most of the time, it took a really long time to get there, right? And I feel like the real work, like the deepest work, not just sort of transferring that symptom or disease into something else or to another part of your body or to another part of your life, but really transforming it takes time and takes the type of attention that you're talking about, that like environmental remediation that you're talking about is so huge. And I'd love to go more deeply into what that means for you. But first, I always love hearing the stories because there's so much medicine in the stories, and you have a really powerful story, Megan. And so I'd love to invite you to share the aspects of your story that you feel are relevant today in connection, like where you are right now with your work with a capital W and your own healing.
Oh, my story. My story's big. I mean, we all have big stories, I guess. Well, I started really finding my way into the healing arts after the death of my person. And by my person, I mean my number one person who was really there for me when I was growing up. So I come from a divorced family. My mom and dad divorced when I was 2. And at that point, my mom really took a pretty big spin downhill, definitely with different types of drugs, definitely with lots of different benzodiazepines, definitely a lot of alcohol, a lot of diet pills. Like she was a very, very, very skinny woman at that time. After she died just last year, I received a box full of photos, and there were some pictures of her where she just was so gaunt and so clearly doing all kinds of different pretty toxic medications and definitely a lot of drugs. And at that point, my next door neighbor, Christine, stepped in. And through all of the trauma work that I've done and the trauma research and the trauma education over the years of being a practitioner, when we're talking about ACE scores, and I have a very high ACE score, my ACE score is not low. When we talk about children with high ACE scores, and ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experience, and it's a test you can do online. I don't always recommend people do it, especially if you do have a high amount of trauma. Sometimes it can be triggering. So I always do like to put that caveat out there. If it's something you're just hearing of and you have a therapist, like talk with your therapist first about doing it, because sometimes the information can be a little jarring. But what a lot of studies have shown is that children who come from adverse childhood experiences that have that higher ACE score, they oftentimes do okay if they have one person who believes in them, one person who really sees them, really helps them feel safe, helps them feel soothed, helps them feel seen, and helps them feel secure. So those 4 S's are vital. And Christine was my one person. We met when I was 2 and she was 19. And she died when I was 19 of a really nasty autoimmune disease called Wegener's granulomatosis. And that was a trauma. At the time, I was like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I was very disassociated from the environment in which I had come from. And it really was, she was my person. So that really pushed me into wanting to explore the world of botanical medicine and just trying to understand what else could have possibly been done. Like, I always like to think of things, yes, I was 19, but what age was my nervous system when she died? And I would say my nervous system, like the place I was responding from, was from a very young age. And children at a young age, they're very, very self-centered. It's just the natural thing. Like the world revolves around me. That's the way children are. It's like the way it's supposed to be. So from that very childhood place, I was like, why couldn't I save her? Like she saved me. Why wasn't I able to save my person? Why couldn't I save my beloved Christine? So I wanted to know. I just wanted to know what else could have been done. And she was the person who really taught me about nature and taught me about herbs, and from a very early age. So I just really went headlong down that path while I was at Evergreen. That's where I first started studying. Evergreen is up in Olympia, Washington. It's the college I got my Bachelor of Science and my Bachelor of Arts. Evergreen's one of those schools where you can just really stay in school for a long time. There's no like 4-year situation. I think I was at Evergreen for at least 6 years. So I started studying herbal medicine, an herbal mentor there named Carol Trisato. And she was a very beloved person also. When I moved to, fast forward, there's many things that happened in there, of course, as we all have in our 20s. Fast forward, my mid-20s, I moved to Portland from Olympia and met my mentor, Andrea Nakayama. And I started working for her, and that really pushed me into the world of functional nutrition and functional medicine. And then from Andrea, I wound up working for Aviva Ram, who is a pretty phenomenal, amazing doctor and herbalist and midwife, and have just over the years really just been a sponge. I really feel like I've been a sponge, just watching these different practitioners and so much respect and taking and listening and watching what to do, even watching what not to do, and really coming to my own alchemical place of how I want to work with people, what I feel is most important. And there's been a lot of ups and downs. There's been a lot of my own health journey too that has tremendously knocked me on my ass, like massive growths on ovaries that nearly killed me when Gus, my youngest, was 2 months old. Like almost did not survive that. Like multiple times was told during that time how lucky I was to be alive. Hemorrhaging and sliced into bladders and hernias and more abdominal surgeries. And then in 2021, I think I shared the last time we did a musing, I lost my second ovary to the same situation, same ovarian torsion. And a couple months later, my mom died very unexpectedly. So it's just been this crazy journey where I'm blessed. And I'm at a point now where I feel incredibly blessed for all of the experiences I have had, because for as much as I've been a sponge in bearing witness to these amazing practitioners and amazing people that I've been blessed and had the gift of working for, I have also really learned that the medicine I have to offer can only go as far as the medicine I am offering myself. And that realizing that and stepping into that feels incredibly profound. And I feel like I've landed, and all that fear, I mean, years of fear of, am I not FOMO? I'm so bad with the acronyms, but the like imposter syndrome. That's it. Imposter syndrome. Like feeling like I didn't know enough, or just the constant not enough, not enough. I need to know more about herbs. I need to know more about supplements. I need to be able to explain exactly why someone wants to take N-acetylcysteine instead of glutathione. Like, just that constant chatter has finally silenced, because I feel so deeply in integrity by offering the medicine in which I'm not only practicing on myself, but can also practice on others through functional nutrition, through lifestyle interventions and medicines, through trauma-informed nutrition counseling. Like, I'm in a place where I feel like 95% of the time I spend is helping people unwind from the over toxic exposure that honestly is the wellness world. And some people might not like to hear that, but what I'm seeing.
Megan, I feel like so much. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing that so vulnerably. And you always show up and you share in a way that is like full transparency. And it really is inspiring to me, because even though I share, and I have a podcast where I share, but I definitely keep a lot. I mean, I'm a Cancer with a crab, right? Like, I keep a lot hidden, and you really inspire me to share, because as you're saying, it's like that medicine, that healing journey, and all that you have experienced is also medicine for others. And, I've really come into that understanding through my own experiences, and also witnessing like you and others are close to me, that all healing is self-healing, or at least it starts with self-healing. All love is really self-love, because it's like it starts with you. And I think that your journey, which has been so profoundly transformative, yes, but I think really carving this beautiful place where you are right now and where you're continuing to go and move into. It's like this deep, deep wisdom that you cannot get from a book. You can't get from a year-long apprenticeship or something, right? It's like lifelong wisdom and knowledge that you literally have in your bones. And so thank you for traversing this journey, and like your fortitude. I can attest to your fortitude, babe. Like, your strength in going through so much. And I know that we have a lot of listeners who have been listening for a while and really connect with you, Megan, and like through our past moon musing episodes, and how much and openly you share about that. And I just want to say also, as kind of like a little side note, because I know we have a lot of practitioners or budding practitioners or folks who are listening in who are really interested in the healing arts, and they all are tuning into that imposter syndrome and nodding their head, right? Because I don't know a single person that doesn't go through that, who's sensitive and who's like drawn to the healing arts. And so I thank you for reflecting that. And I just want to say for everybody who is hearing this, like, not to feel shame for having your own struggles and your own challenges. You're not supposed to have everything figured out, right? Like, you are a human and you're highly sensitive, most likely. And so this is life, and we teach also what we most need to learn. And I think that you so beautifully illustrated that in the retelling of your story, Megan, and how you live. So I just wanted to put a pin in that for those who are listening about that imposter syndrome. I think it's really big, and that shame thing is really heavy to carry.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's insidious. It's amazing the different places in which it can show up. It only very recently, I kind of have, in the last few months, for the first, I think I can actually say for the first time in my life, I believe the term is unfuckwithable. I believe is how you say it.
Yeah.
Still like shaking hands with it, kind of like sniffing it out, making sure it's safe. But the many different ways that imposter syndrome, and it doesn't just show up or it didn't just show up with regards to healing and my work. It showed up in my writing. It showed up in whether or not I would bring my paints to the river. It showed up in so many different ways. It would sometimes even show up in, oh my goodness, like I read to my kids every night. Am I reading it with a voice that's fun enough? Or, it just but the more that we can start to recognize it, I really think the more we are able to step fully into our gifts. But I think the thing is, that's been so hard for me is, oh, it's actually not stepping into the thing you need to step into first. It might actually be, oh, I need to just practice writing every single day and not stopping, just writing, not judging myself, not trying to convince myself that I'm not using the right punctuation. I mean, I'm in a deep place right now where I feel like some of my core work is to heal my relationship with writing. And that healing is just as important as any of the other healing that I'm doing, in all honesty. Like, I really believe that the more that I start to write, the more that I start to put the blog posts out, the more that I have complete freedom. And I feel like I'm having to really heal that. I didn't have very supportive people around my writing for a really long time. I mean, even there was a joke where it was like, oh, don't let Megan write, or clearly we're not going to ask Megan's advice, or just whatever little comments would come out. And I mean, even things that I would say to myself in like self-deprecation and self-deprecating fashion, all of that's a part of my trauma. All of that is this coming from a place of deep, deep core wounding. And this might be a little bit of a tangent, but the more that we can move from the place, and remember I said earlier about checking in, what age is your nervous system? Like, what is the age of that your nervous system is responding from? The more we can practice really bringing those 4 S's, that safe, seen, soothed, and secure, bringing those 4 S's to whatever that age is and putting that little part of you into your lap, the lap of consideration, and moving from that place it's incredibly profound. And I hope that makes sense.
Yes. So much of what you're saying it's reminding me of just recently our latest, maybe not the time this podcast is going to be published, but when I did the Capricorn full supermoon, It's in Your Bones solo cast episode, there was an excerpt from the Akashic channeling, like our guides that came in, and it was, "Let your song be sung from the depths of your bones, for it is a song unsung that is the greatest of all tragedies." And that really stuck with me because what you're speaking into, Megan, is like you're writing your song, like you're singing your song, and your writing is part of that. So looking at, like you're talking about all these things that we might be carrying, that imposter syndrome, the not enoughness, like whatever the voices are and judgments are, and definitely connected to traumas and like the age of our nervous system, like those fears. What is preventing our song from being sung in this lifetime? And, a lot of people feel like they don't even know what their song is because all of these voices and these blogs have prevented them from fully connecting to it in the first place. And I think you are really, as you're sharing this, you're really speaking to that piece. Like you are singing your song, Megan, and it's very exciting.
It's exciting, and it's terrifying, especially when you say it as singing a song. I don't sing. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, there we go. Yep. I know. I'm like, isn't that one of the biggest fears? Like one of the biggest fears is speaking or singing in front of a crowd for people. I find the voice piece and the fear around voice that is pervasive and so palpable. I think that's very telling about how we have been shaped as a society, really. Right?
Yeah. I deeply agree. And I think, and these are the things, and I share this because I really do feel that the more we can start to do this type of work, the more that we can step into a place where our song can be sung. That's the place where the deepest impact can really happen. with regards to food as medicine or herbs as medicine, we've got to get out of this expectation. I dare say, there's a lot of hope. And I go through this. I mean, since now being 40 years old and menopausal and surgical menopause for the last year, I don't sleep. Like, I used to sleep great, but now sleep has become this horribly traumatizing nightly event. I have that hope that, okay, the phosphatidylserine, that's what's going to make it better. Okay, the 3 grams of glycine, that's what's going to stop the night sweats. Some of it might kind of work a little bit, but surrender. Me surrendering to the lack of sleep, me surrendering to the process instead of being in this grip of fighting and this grip of hoping that this outside thing is going to be the right answer. I really feel that that's the place that I need to step into. And how do I create the environment for that? Oh, I simply need to slow down to the best of my ability. Is my life geared towards going slow? I try to choose things, but of course, I have a full-time job and a full list of clients and 2 little boys and a husband and a house and 2 horses. And we've got a very busy life. So can things completely slow down and stop? Not necessarily. But can I feel the air on my skin twice a day? Can I notice how many birds are singing and be able to identify their songs? That's been my latest thing. Not only identifying the birds, but the bird song is my new favorite. Like, can I slow down and let those bits of medicine? And the more that I'm able to do that, those nights are the nights that I sleep the best.
Oh, so profound. I feel what you're speaking about, Megan, is like you're literally going into a different frequency and relationship with all of it. And it's like through that, it's like the frequency of love and compassion and Mama Earth and like nature and deep time and deep connection to yourself and your environment and the world around you. And honestly, I feel like that's the place where healing happens. Just like that's the place where your nervous system settles and connects and isn't like charged. And we are living in a world that makes it, and I would hypothesize, I don't think it's a hypothesis, I think it's a fact, but I would say that the world as we know it, the modern world, was created on purpose to take us out of that. Because then we can much more manageable. We will follow and we become disconnected from our own power, for example, to heal ourselves and connect with that frequency. So that step, it's like, I know people listening are like, how the fuck do you do this? Like, how do you do it? And you gave some beautiful examples of tuning into the like wind and the breeze and the bird song. And so if somebody is like, Megan, I just like, honestly, I don't even know where to start. What would you suggest?
I think this is where I'm actually, I've been under my own practice, like healing practice of amethyst and rose since 2018. And I'm in the process of completely rebranding my new business. I'm not in a big hurry to get the website up. We've got our Instagram going. It's Flow. Is it dot or period? I was like, Flow. How do you say that in Instagram land? I just realized I don't actually know that. Flow dot medicine dot collective. So my new business is the Flow Medicine Collective. And this is all about slow medicine. This is practicing, me and my partner, Christina Tidwell, us together, practicing and creating a practice that is centered around helping people to slow down. And it really, really is a paradigm shift. It goes deeper than even just meditating and all those lifestyle things that I feel like practitioners really love to tout as like the way forward. And I'm not saying that those things aren't helpful. They completely are. But oftentimes there's some deep coaching and some deep work that needs to come with getting yourself to the place where those things can actually work. So what I'm seeing as this paradigm shift is, and my role is to help people through one-on-one work or we're going to be offering a 6-week group program that will start, I believe, in August is what we're hoping for. And bringing you into your body, teachings around mindfulness and the many ways into mindfulness. How do we work with mindfulness? Just telling someone to meditate, I don't do well with that. I have way too much complex PTSD for meditation to work for me. So I need someone to sit with me and help me understand my way forward with that. It's through awareness and bringing people like deep into their healing process through a series of questions, sometimes questions that are repeated over and over and over again. Because my job is to help you trust your body, to help you trust your wisdom, to stop looking out. Where do I need to go next? Where do I need to go next? What's the next healing protocol? I'm not saying those things aren't necessary down the road, but more often than not, we have to start with what's inside you. How do we build trust with your body? Where have you lost trust? Of course, that doesn't mean you need to know all the herbs and all the supplements and all the protocols. That's not what this is about. It's more, how do we help you center, get into your body so that your body can then heal and absorb the medicine that you are attempting to work with? What's the feedback your body is giving you?
Megan, so I'm hearing from listeners, in the audience, especially when one is deep in this journey and has been for a really long time, which, I feel like most of us now on Earth have been, right? Especially over the past 3 years. But I know that a lot of the listeners have been journeying with a lot of heavy things and various forms of dis-ease or discomfort and other stuff just like in their lives. So to kind of bring all of this into practice, what does this look like if someone, for example, were to come and step into a container working with you? What does working with you look like?
Well, it looks different for everybody. Everyone's protocol, everyone's journey is very unique and uniquely their own. And I really see it as my job to help unearth what that journey can look like for people. I think I've mentioned a couple of times the 4 S's, so people can expect to feel seen. People can expect to feel soothed. People can expect a lot of questions. I think that the power of a question is more potent than the power of any dietary protocol, oftentimes, in all honesty.
Yep.
I see my number one job is to help forge the path so that people can feel safe in their bodies. Through that, or what that can look like is learning to practice the art and science of practicing what it is to feel connected in the body, practicing the art of slowing down, getting to know your medicine, getting to know why an onion might be healthy, getting to know why an onion might not work for your body. Instead of just eating the food, I want people to partner with the food. Instead of just taking the herbs, I want people to partner with the herbs. Instead of just taking a supplement, I want you to understand why you're taking the supplement. I see everything as relational. And the more relationship we can have with the medicine we're putting in our body, I think the better. I feel like an environmental remediator, like I said before, looking at each and everything within the environment, whether that's internal or external. There's always botanical medicine and plant medicine and rituals. Now, whether that's an internal practice or even just learning to sit with the spirit of a plant, that inevitably becomes part of my protocols. Of course, there's going to be food, but more importantly, I want to bring a sense of joy and safety around food to my clients. The amount of people I get, and I know you see this too, Vanessa, where it's like there's such a deep sense of conditioned hyperfood sensitivity because of this overexposure to all these different dietary theories. where it's like I've had people coming in eating 3 foods and it takes years to recover from that. And I don't think that people really, really understand because they're putting their trust in their practitioners. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when the practitioners are guiding them to take out the gluten, take out the dairy, take out the egg, take out the fruit, take out the onions and the garlic and the high FODMAP foods and the lectin and the oxalate. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder people feel overwhelmed and ultimately terrified by what they're putting in their mouths. And to me, the state in which you eat is equally as important as what you eat. But people tend to be more focused on the what instead of the state. Like I said, it's more important to me that people truly know their medicine. I want them to deeply understand why they are doing what they're doing or why they are taking what they are taking. And I want them to come back to the earth. I want them to feel their feet on their earth. And I want them to be in relationship with their healing journey as opposed to just kind of being on a lead line pulled.
I think what you're speaking about right now is probably like the fundamental thing that when we even consider like eating and diet, like this should be the number one before any other, whether it's like counting macros and calories or it's looking at what are your food sensitivities and what do we take out and keep in and everything that you said about like the fear around all of these foods, like we see in circulation, it's like, well, what is safe to eat? And I think that connection to safety and fear, what you're saying is really, it starts with relationship. It's relationship to everything. And I think that this is part of like a larger reorientation to connecting to the spirit that's in all things, right? Like you were speaking into. And I think it can be easy for people to do that with things like plant spirit medicine or psychedelics. Like if they utilize those and they go into ceremony, there's that connection there. But then how about extrapolating that to literally everything that you connect with and you consume? And that's what you're talking about, which I think is a huge reframe for people.
It is a really big reframe and it can feel really overwhelming. But I mean, my mantra is go low and start slow.
Mm-hmm.
Start slow. Slow yourself down as much as possible. And sometimes even the first step with that is noticing how fast you feel like you're going. And through that notice, then just bringing consciousness to it. There is so much power in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It is probably the most free and undervalued resource we have.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you and I in general, but also on this podcast, we talk a lot about intuitive nourishment, what that means, intuitive eating. And it starts with that. Like you also have to know thyself, and that's part of the consciousness piece. And I think the other thing that can be really challenging in this journey is radical honesty with it, and like we got to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes like there are things we just want to avoid, and it's easier to be more mindless about something or to just like set it aside. And that I totally get that sometimes we have to do that because we maybe don't have the space or capacity to hold the truth.
There's work involved in that. And that I think that's where being an integrative practitioner and partnering and helping our people to see where else help could be beneficial, whether that be with a therapist, whether that be with somebody who practices craniosacral therapy, whether that be with pelvic floor therapy. There's so many different pathways. I mean, how often, Vanessa, am I like, with my clients, am I like, you need to go see Vanessa? You need, like, there's just a natural flow, I feel like, with a lot of my clients where I feel that their records need to be tapped into in order for them to find their path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ditto. I'm like, I just had a dear friend that I referred to, and I'm like, you have to see Megan. Like I'm starting to speak into like I'm calling for now, like the new earth intuitive healer. And, I don't want it to be associated so much with like a lot of the new age terminology or lexicon that's out there. But it really, when we're talking about new earth, like that's what we're discussing today is like literally a new way of being in relationship to ourselves and the earth. And so in stepping into and being a new earth intuitive healer, a huge piece of that is recognizing like that it's not all about just the practitioner and just you and the person and that relationship, which is so important. But it's this matrix and network of resources, because in your words, like really looking at that ecosystem and that remediation process includes all these other players and the roles. And so like, I think one of your gifts, Megan, is being able to see that ecosystem, to see like, where are the missteps or where can we bring in a little bit more attention and love? And then whether that means referring out for certain things or like bringing in specific tools, like I think that your wider scope is something that new earth intuitive healer, we all need to really step into and practice for not just our clients, but for ourselves too.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And that's why we partner and we work together and we love each other
so much. And it's like that type of relationship too. It's so supportive for the person, the client, like to have practitioners that actually communicate with one another. Oh my God. Like tell me how many times you have tried to get some information from like someone's doctor or other practitioner. And it's like, there's like a wall and it doesn't make any sense because it's like, if we're here, really here and showing up for the person in support of their healing, that would mean communicating like whatever we need to the others that are also like on their team trying to support them.
Well, and I would say that's probably one of the number one parts of how I work with people is who do we need on your team? And I see it, there's a big difference between the care team. I am part of the care team. And then there's the medical team. Who is part of your medical team? And even providing clients with the right questions. Like, here's a list of questions to ask your endocrinologist. Here's a list of questions to ask your GP. It's learning. The more that we can co-create together as practitioners, the more supported the people who are not feeling in their body and at their best and who are really struggling with chronic illness. That's where we get to move forward, I think.
Yep. I want to zoom in a little bit on the slowness piece because I don't think that this is a topic that can be, I think it has been so avoided and also misunderstood in just more of like the larger mainstream culture. There's a lot of talk about self-care. And so people are like, I don't have time for that, right? Or like, how do I, in this world, this society that is literally constructed so that I'm kept busy or like the illusion of busyness, right? In your world or experience, Megan, what does going into the slowness or slow medicine look like and mean for you?
Well, for me, it was life or death. I mean, my body was telling me over and over and over again, over the course of, I would say, a solid 10 years, what it needed. And just being part of the patriarchy, being a mom, thinking I needed more education, definitely feeling like I needed to get my master's degree, which, benefited me because you and I got to do it together, feeling like I needed to work and work and work and work. And I'm not saying that those things in some ways weren't necessary, but it was like, how many abdominal surgeries do I need to have in order for me to listen? How many toxic relationships need to present themselves in my life in order for me to listen? Mm-hmm. And to me, slowing down is really all about listening. We can't see our five senses. We can barely taste. Our five senses can't really be activated if we are speeding our way through life or even going too quickly over the things oftentimes that's a trauma response too. I mean, for me, diagnosed with complex PTSD. Disassociation it's how I lived most of my life, I would say, up until the last year, really. So the faster I went, the more that contributed to my disassociation. Slowing down meant that I had to look at my shit. Slowing down meant that I really needed to go into my trauma. It meant I needed to go and pay attention to things that in the past never even thought was possible. But it's the most important thing I have ever done. Because had I not slowed down, had I not looked at the lab markers or even just felt into how certain foods or supplements felt in my body, I would have just kept on going. And they're subtle. These shifts are very, very subtle. But the more I slowed down and the more my clients slow down, the faster their healing can happen. But nobody wants to talk about going slow. I mean, how long have we been learning about the magic pill, people wanting that magic pill? And honestly, at this point, I do a introductory call. I call it my vet call, where it's I just vet people. Not everybody wants to go slow. There are a lot of people that are no, just give me the protocol, give me the supplements, and I want to be on my way. And cool, I am not your person. I'm not your practitioner. And that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people that are out there. But if you do want to slow down, if you want to practice the art of, like I said before, really getting to know your food, really getting to know your medicine, really getting to know what helps you go into your parasympathetic, that's to me the path forward. And that's the medicine I've been practicing at this point. There is nothing I offer that in some way I have not worked with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back. And to me, there's a lot of integrity in that. And that came from you, V, when you and I did a Akashic reading. My guides were you practice the medicine that you actually practice on yourself. Otherwise, don't practice at all, basically, is what they were saying. And that feels really important to me because I feel like I get to step into being a guide in a way and a teacher in a way now that I never was able to 5 years ago. And that just comes with experience.
I just think imagine 5 years from now too. And I want to, just a little side note, your guides are pretty awesome and wicked and like totally no filter, which makes sense for you. You know? But one of the things that as I'm listening to you and I am holding, because I hear some of the listeners come in with this and I feel what some of them are feeling, which is even shame about not having done that, or shame around their, you could call it stubbornness for so long with maybe there's a voice inside of them that is telling them, hey, you need to look at this. Hey, you need to look at this. Hey, you need to look at this, but they won't. And I know you probably have some gems about that, but I just want to drop a little piece in here that I feel called to speak into around that quote stubbornness, is that the flip side of that stubbornness is if you were to say, if the stubbornness were the shadow version, right? The lighter version, the gift in that is radical resilience, grit, and commitment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To the lessons that you receive and get deeply rooted and they're everlasting. So that same gift of stubbornness that you have on the flip side is going to be one of your biggest allies, because you have that capacity to be so, I love that term gritty, just gritty, but in the best way, right? And that commitment to yourself or this path and the healing, and it gets deeply rooted. So for anybody who feels like they've experienced, because I know I've experienced that in my life, right? Why was I so stubborn and not wanting to look at it, or just whatever? And now it's oh, because that was the biggest way to learn this lesson, and I will never go back. I will never go back.
And I would say too, it's a gift, that stubbornness, though it may not feel like it, it really is a gift, because you get to know, you get to know a part of yourself so well.
Yeah.
If you weren't stubborn or you weren't experiencing that, and I always like to think in terms of like inner child too, like at what age are you feeling like your nervous system or that stubbornness is at? For me, my stubbornness was probably more like 9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times. There came a point where I softened to the stubbornness. And in that softening, there was an understanding. But if I hadn't been that way, or I hadn't had that stubbornness, or I guess we have to learn to listen. And my path with listening comes with compassionate listening. And it doesn't always happen. I mean, and still, I ate like the entire plate of salami and cheese yesterday and feel like my guts are going to die today. Like, I feel so bad. But my best friend was here from Los Angeles. I hadn't seen him in 10 years.
Yeah.
And we ate olives and cheese and salami, and I did it and I enjoyed it. And was I stubborn? And should I have probably chosen a salad? More than likely, but
yeah.
I calm it down later.
Yeah. But thank you for being very transparent about that, because I think that is the key. It's like not about perfection. It's not about perfection. It's about relationship, to anchor into what you were talking about. So like you were in relationship, and you are always in relationship with like your body and what your body needs, and then what your body desires and what your soul desires. And so like you get to choose, and then you can do remediation work after if you need to, right? Like,
yeah,
it's all part of that process.
Exactly. And the more that we can be in the process, the better. And I need hand holding. That's the other thing. Like, I'm at a point where I realize that I need my hand held through a lot of things. Like, even with my supplements, like I'm really, really good at taking my supplements, but the way that I've been able to become successful with them is by making sure that I put my supplements in a bowl and I put my husband's supplements in a bowl. If I left to my own devices, I probably wouldn't do it for myself, in all honesty. Like, that's just where I'm at. But knowing that about myself and then pairing it with something for James, I've been really successful with them in the last year. So successful that I got my ferritin from a 3 to a 57, which is a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a struggle for you for a while to get. And of course, with those numbers, it was also connected to how you were feeling, right? So it's not just like you were just only looking at the numbers. It connected to how you were feeling, and you were feeling better with your energy and all of that, right?
Exactly. Able to run. But it's also realizing part of my medicine is to be okay with being in partnership and needing help. It's okay to need help. And that's a mantra I tell myself all the time. Okay to need help.
And just another quick footnote for those who are not familiar with ferritin or, lab markers, whatever. Ferritin as the storage form of iron. But, of course, we're looking at everything holistically and looking at all the markers that we have available for iron, as well as looking at how you are feeling and symptomology. So I just wanted to kind of plant that seed for people in case they're like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness. There is so much juiciness here. And I feel like literally we're just scratching the surface of this conversation, which is why it's very exciting for me to tune into your work, Megan, and like literally the evolution of it and like the growth and what it's becoming. So if anything that you feel comfortable sharing or that's like on deck or whatever, what can people expect from you? What's new? What are you excited about? Like, what are you working on? Anything that feels alive and juicy for you if you're called to share?
Yeah, there's a lot that's alive and juicy. So I'm in the process. So I'm still doing one-on-one practice under Amethyst and Rose, which is my private practice. And then I'm in the throes of launching the Flow Medicine Collective with my partner and dear friend, Christina Tidwell. And that's going to be pretty more centered around group coaching, more centered around group healing. There's a 6-week program that's hopefully going to be coming in mid-August, end of August, where it'll be 6 weeks. And it's going to be really centered around that environmental remediation piece, setting up the environment so that you can step into your healing journey. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm excited about the work you and I are doing together, Vanessa.
Yeah.
You and I have been partnering and working together in so many different ways, but I feel like with the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner program that you're offering and being able to step in with that with you is really exciting. I'm slowly starting to potentially shift out of doing one-on-one work. I'm still taking one-on-one clients, but I am feeling really called more into the mentorship role and more into group work because groups are powerful. They really, really are so powerful. One other thing that I thought was a really big deal. So after my mom died last year, her cousin Sophia wrote me and told me, which I had no idea. My grandfather's first language was Spanish, but I always thought he was Basque from Spain. But come to find out, his mother, my great grandma, was a very renowned, well-known curandera on the Mayan, like Yucatan Peninsula. And there was a moment where when she told me that, I felt for the first time where I was like, oh, that's where I belong. Like, that's where this came from. Cause I've always kind of felt like this outlier in both my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. So learning that my great grandma was a curandera was really profoundly powerful. And also the
Confirming.
amount, yeah, and super confirming. But it was also so interesting to think of the amount of blending because my grandfather was a white man whose first language was Spanish. He grew up in Merida in Mexico. But when they migrated to Los Angeles in the United States, there was like they wanted to blend. Like that Mexican part of their heritage was very hidden from most of us. So really, I'm just learning. My eyes are open to it and I'm very curious, but I'm deeply, deeply trying to connect and tap in with the spirit of my great grandma and really just trying to allow guidance to come through from that realm, which feels really powerful and really exciting.
And to have her as an ally, like, and to awaken and connect to that, because I think all of us have our team, our spiritual allies, our loved ones on the other side, our ancestors. And we so often don't, because, in our world, we're just like most of us in the Western world are not raised to connect to that realm and to know that you have that support and that allyship. And so it's so key when we wake up to that, because that's when they can really help us, right? Is when we have that invitation. We have that heart openness and invitation because you have connected to it. And I feel like this is going to be so incredibly powerful for you, Megan. Like it already has been. And obviously she's been on your team since you were born, but it's like now you can collaborate in a awakened conscious way, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's been super exciting. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for Flow Medicine Collective. We have our Instagram, which is flow.medicine.collective. We've got lots of good things coming down the pipe, which feels very exciting.
Woohoo! Yes. And I'm so excited to just have you in our orbit and WIP in Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway. And so much of the gifts that you'll be disseminating, it's just so thrilled. It's going to be awesome. All the things. So of course, as always, I will have all the links in the show notes for everybody who's interested to connect more. And Megan, before we get into like anything else that you want, like parting words, I always ask every guest, what is currently feeding your wild, my dear?
Currently, what is feeding my wild are early mornings, about 5:30, 6 in the morning. I brew a cup of tea and I step outside and I sit on my porch and I feel the air on my body. And I listen to the birds and I watch the birds and I drink my tea very slowly. And I just feel so thankful for the place in which I live, for the creatures that bless me every day with their presence, for the sweet little boys whom I get to be mama to my beloved husband who truly is the love of my life, and to my friends who I really get to share space with in this world. I think that's what's feeding my wild right now.
So yummy. And the other thing I think that we've maybe talked about in past episodes, but that you will get with Megan is her gifts as a Taurus queen. And so like just that like yummy, sensual connection to life. And you teach me that. I think that's why I'm so drawn to Tauruses. Like my partner's a Taurus, and you guys have such beautiful earth and like sensual medicine. So thank you for that. And as we close out, is there any last thing that you feel called to leave our listeners with today?
Practice embracing slowing down. What's one area or one moment in your life where you can build a relationship with slow? Is it drinking your water one gulp at a time and noticing the water going down your throat? Is it slowing down and looking at all of the colors between one block and the next as you're on a walk? Anything. Is it feeling the toothpaste on your teeth as you're brushing your teeth? I don't care what it is. What one way in which you can really feel into the power of going slow.
Beautiful. I'm going to take that medicine too.
Me too.
Take that deeply. Mm-hmm. Megan, thank you for coming on and sharing your life, your process, and your wisdom with us today. I love you so much.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Hey there, I made something for you. One of the biggest challenges that I hear from people is that they are feeling stuck when it comes to their health. You're a smart, capable, and creative change maker, right? And you know what you should be doing for your health. So what gives? Well, it's not about willpower. And I wanted to create something that would help you to unlearn the things that are keeping you stuck so that you can get out of your own way and master the mindset of health. That's why I created Wildly Unstuck, where you'll learn the top 5 things that I have found to sabotage your health goals and what to do about them. You'll learn what it really takes to become committed and unstoppable when it comes to your health goals and find the clarity you've been looking for so you know exactly what to do to get back into alignment. And I made it totally free. So if this is something that you want to dive into and create a vision and soul goals for your health and your life and bring your gifts to the world, because we know that we need it, then I invite you to join us in Wildly Unstuck. You can find that at wildlyrooted.com/unstuck. I'll see you on the other side.